After 3 days and 257 selections, the 2025 NFL Draft has ended. All 32 teams should feel like they've improved, though some should feel better than others. It's never quite fair to judge prospects before they've even taken an NFL field. And we're not here to predict how the league's newest players will pan out. It's entirely fair, however, to assess how all teams navigated the event, address needs, maximize value or not, and match draft strategies to long-term franchise plans. With that being said, it is time once again for our annual NFL Draft Recap Special. Hey there, welcome everybody to our 2025 NFL Draft Recap Special, this very special edition of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined by good old MF, the birthday boy, good old MF Michael Fletcher, who just celebrated a birthday yesterday. So we'll have more on that in just a little bit. But some exciting news I want to share with all of you. I actually spoke to our dear friend Mike Keenan today. He called me, and I missed his call at first, but then I reached back out to him. We talked for a little while, and he keeps making more and more progress by the day. And we here couldn't be any more happier about that. So our continued well wishes to Mike, Brian, and the entire Keenan family. And this show is for you, as it always is. And this is a show that I know they're all looking forward to, especially Mike and Brian. I know this is something they're looking forward to. They love as you know, they're avid supporters of our show. So this one is for you guys. And for Mike, keep doing what you're doing. We love you. We're thinking of you like we always do. And keep getting better and maybe you'll get out of there soon enough. So this one's for you, buddy. All right. So this is our annual NFL Draft Recap edition of TXN Sports World. We go by each team. We give our letter grades as to how we think they did, whether they did good, great, bad, whatever. So without any further ado, let's not waste any time and let's dive right on in with our first team. And that team is the Arizona Cardinals. And with their selections, they selected Walter Nolen, defensive lineman from Ole Miss. Excuse me. Will Johnson, a cornerback from Michigan. Jordan Burch, an edge from Oregon. Cody Simon, linebacker from the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, as well as Denzel Burke, a cornerback also from Ohio State. Hayden Connor, an IOL from Texas, and Keaton Crawford, a safety from Nevada. The Arizona Cardinals kick off their draft by taking Ole Miss defensive lineman Walter Nolen. While Nolen was widely viewed as a boom or bust prospect coming into the draft, he should fit well with what Arizona wants to accomplish defensively. Nolen's concerns aren't centered around his play on game days. The 21-year-old has as much physical upside as any defensive lineman in this class. He can create havoc on the interior, and he can help give head coach Jonathan Gannon the sort of disruptive front he once had as the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator. Arizona took a flyer on Michigan cornerback Will Johnson in round 2, which in a vacuum was a brilliant move. The Cardinals ranked just 21st in net yards allowed per pass attempt last season. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Johnson slid because of long-term concerns about his knee. If his health holds up, though, the Cardinals may have gotten the steal of the early draft. Gannon got a few more pieces for his defense in the middle rounds, adding Jordan Burch, Denzel Burke, and Cody Simon. It wasn't surprising to see a defensively focused draft from the Cardinals. Given Gannon's background, it's fair to wonder, though, if Arizona should have done more to support quarterback Kyler Murray, who has yet to establish himself as a top-tier signal caller. So my grade for Arizona, solid B+. B+, my grade for the Arizona Cardinals. So not much more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Happy belated birthday. Great to have you with us as always. This is one of the shows that MF this is one of the shows I look forward to the most because this is where we get the analyst side of MF, as he is the Phil Simms to my Jim Nance, of course. So, MF, here we go. Another NFL draft recap. Here we go.
Yes, indeed. Arizona started out all right. I'm not going to say that they did anything spectacular. I know there was a few teams that kind of really stood out, but I mean, yeah, I mean the if you really think about it, the B is probably the best way that to go here. So yeah, I think they did a good job. I don't think it was anything spectacular. So yeah, give them a B and Anthony off to the next team.
And you'll start it off, MF, and that team is the Atlanta Falcons. And with their picks, they selected Jalen Walker, linebacker, Georgia, James Pierce Jr., an edge from Tennessee, Xavier Watts, safety from Notre Dame, Billy Bowman Jr., a safety from Oklahoma, and Jack Nelson, an offensive tackle from Wisconsin. All right, MF, with all those picks, how did Atlanta do?
I'm gonna give it a B minus. I kind of feel like Atlanta really could, they needed a lot of defensive help. So grabbing two edges right out of the gate was probably a really good thing that you can get. Then you got two more safeties with Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. That's nice little setup. An offensive line guy to basically finish it off. I mean, yeah, there's still a lot of there's still a lot of work because you don't know what the quarterback is looking like. And I really think Atlanta should have drafted a quarterback here. But I'm not gonna be too hard on them. This was a B minus for me. So B minus for the Atlanta Falcons. So Anthony, it's yours.
The Atlanta Falcons appear eager to support second-year quarterback Michael Penix Jr. with a vastly improved defense. With their first 2025 draft selection, the Falcons took Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker, arguably the most versatile defender in the class. Atlanta then traded back into round 1 for Tennessee pass rusher James Pierce Jr. Like Walter Nolen, Pierce carries off-field concerns, but has an intriguing amount of upside. It's worth noting that Pierce was viewed as a candidate to go number 1 overall a year ago. If he could reach that ceiling, moving up to acquire him will have been worth it. If not, the Falcons will regret sending the 46th and 242nd picks, along with a 2026 first-round selection to the Los Angeles Rams for the 26th and 101st picks. Safeties Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman Jr. have the potential to form a very disruptive duo on the back end. Atlanta lacked legitimate difference makers in its secondary last season. That should not be as much of a concern in 2025. Adding Watts specifically should help mitigate the risk of trading up for Pierce. With Jesse Bates III still in the mix at safety, the back end of the defense should actually be a team strength in 2025. Was the move to land Pierce an unnecessary risk? Probably. Is Atlanta's defense on paper dramatically better than it was a few days ago? Yes. Small disagreement here. You said B minus, MF. I'm actually going to give Atlanta a solid B. Solid B is my grade for the Atlanta Falcons. Next up we have is the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of picks here, so here we go. With their selections, they selected Malachi Starks, a safety from Georgia, Mike Green, an edge from Marshall, Emory Jones Jr., offensive lineman from LSU, Teddy Buchanan, a linebacker from California, Carson Vinson, offensive tackle from Alabama A&M, Bilal Cohn, a cornerback from Western Michigan, Tyler Loop, a kicker from Arizona, LaJohntay Wester, wide receiver from Colorado, Aeneas Peebles, defensive lineman from Virginia Tech, Robert Longerbeam, a cornerback from Rutgers, and Garrett Dellinger, inside-outside linebacker from LSU. While it can't really be considered a draft strategy, the Baltimore Ravens seem to have a knack for allowing talented players at positions of need to fall to them in the first round. A year ago, it was cornerback Nate Wiggins. 3 years ago, it was safety Kyle Hamilton. Last Thursday, it was Georgia safety Malachi Starks. Baltimore's newest defensive back should immediately pair with Hamilton to form one of the league's best young safety duos. Along with free agent addition Chidobe Awuzie, he should help bolster a secondary that showed growth in 2024, but still finished the year ranked 31st in passing yards allowed. The Ravens added more help to their pass defense by grabbing Marshall pass rusher Mike Green, late in round 2. The number 2 edge rusher could prove to be a massive steal, though other teams may have shied away because Green twice faced sexual assault allegations, once in high school and most recently while at Virginia in 2022, which caused his transfer to Marshall. Green has never been charged and denies all accusations. Day 3 selections Teddy Buchanan and Carson Vincent figure to provide depth for one of the AFC's more talented rosters. Kicker Tyler Loop may be the eventual heir to longtime special teams stalwart Justin Tucker. The Ravens are good at this drafting thing. They had another productive 3 days over last weekend. Solid A for the Baltimore Ravens. So not much more to say here. MF, what's your grade for the Baltimore Ravens?
For the first time tonight, we agree. It is an A. Like you said, to get Malachi Starks right out of the gate was a really good thing. But if you notice, look at all the spots that they went after. Safety, edge, O-line, linebacker, corner, hell, even a kicker. And you know kickers don't get drafted very often in the draft, but Baltimore went for a kicker this time around. They basically went for they were looking for wants, needs, areas that they needed to fill. They absolutely used this as a gambit. They weren't messing around. Every spot, every team, every look, they filled the holes with the needs that they did. This is the Baltimore Ravens. This is one of the best teams when it comes to drafting. When they do draft day stuff, it's like, how do they do it? They do so much. They get in, they make some moves, they trade out, they'll go down, they'll get some draft capital, they'll use that, get the contemplated picks. It's a master class how the Ravens do it, and there's no doubt in my mind. Solid A for the Baltimore Ravens. Anthony, it's yours.
And guess what, MF? Guess who the next team is, and you're leading off on them. It's my team. You're reigning and defending for the last 5 years AFC Eastern Division champion Buffalo Bills. And here's who my team selected with their picks. Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky. TJ Sanders, defensive lineman, South Carolina. Landon Jackson, an edge from Arkansas. Deion Walker, defensive lineman, Kentucky. Jordan Hancock, a cornerback from the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. Jackson Hawes, a tight end from Georgia Tech. Dorian Strong, a cornerback from Virginia Tech. Chase Lunt, offensive tackle from Connecticut, a.k.a. UConn. And Caden Prather, a wide receiver from Maryland. All right, MF, be honest. How did my team do?
B+. Solid performance. Great to get Maxwell Harrison. That was a great move for Buffalo. That definitely was a major help because, again, what was the one Achilles heel for Buffalo last year? Corner and safety.
Yes.
They were absolutely getting torched in the secondary. Like, your front four was fine. Your linebacking core was all right. It was good. Like, they were good in certain areas, but not great in certain areas. They were getting run on. And if you notice, Buffalo was really emphasizing this time around on defense. They really were going after the defensive guys this time around. Because they know that this was the area that they were getting lit on. No worries on the offense. You got your quarterback, you got your wide receivers, you got your O-line, you got, it's nice that they upgraded on the tight end. I think that was one area that they needed a little bit of help. You get a wide receiver at the back end, but he's more of a platoon guy. He's more of a guy that you don't really need the help, but it's always good to have an extra body. Where, for me, defense was the name of the game for Buffalo. And they got some good ones, but there are some questions with some other guys. Not the first round draft pick, home run. No doubt about it. I would even give it an A rating just for your first round. But once you get beyond that, it's a solid B plus for me. I think they could have been better with some defensive guys, but I'm not going to be like really harsh with them. They did a really good job. So solid B plus for the Buffalo Bills, Anthony. That's my honest and official rating.
Fair enough. We're it's an agree to disagree. It's a B, but I'll get more into that in just a moment. A year after trading out of day one, the Buffalo Bills used their first round selection on Kentucky cornerback Maxwell Hairston. It was a sensible pick that provided sensible value at number 30. Hairston has good length at 5'11 and 183 pounds, solid coverage skills, and elite athletic ability. He also has a positive, energetic personality that should instantly resonate with Bills Mafia. Taking Hairston at number 30 was very sensible after Buffalo ranked 24th in passing yards allowed last season. Buffalo made a more aggressive move on day 2, trading up to number 41 to snag South Carolina defensive tackle TJ Sanders. It's hard to call his selection a massive reach. Buffalo watched an early run on defensive linemen unfold and decided to go up and get a player they liked and needed. The Bills ranked only 19th in yards allowed per carry last season. That's a big reason why adding prospects like Landon Jackson and Deion Walker to the defensive front in the middle rounds was logical. General manager Brandon Beane targeted depth at cornerback and tight end on day 3. Logical choices given Buffalo's defensive needs and offensive identity. Overall, this was a defensive draft for the Bills, which was largely expected. While Buffalo may still lack a true number 1 receiver, it can coax enough offense out of Josh Allen, James Cook, and a good collection of complementary pass catchers. Ideally, I believe it now has a chance to finally stop Patrick Mahomes and the rival Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. It's a B, but it's not quite a B+. It's a solid B for my Buffalo Bills. So with that being said, let's move on to our next team, and that team is the Carolina Panthers. And here are their selections. Now, some names I'm going to have a bit of a time pronouncing, so I apologize for any butchering. With their selections for Carolina, they selected Teda Iroa McMillan, a wide receiver from Arizona, Nick Scourton, an edge from Texas A&M, Princely Uman Milan, an edge from Ole Miss, Trevor Etienne, running back, Georgia, Lathan Ransom, safety from the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, Cam Jackson, defensive tackle from Florida, Mitchell Evans, a tight end from Notre Dame, and Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver from Colorado. Some selections just make too much sense. The Carolina Panthers' first pick of the 2025 NFL Draft was one of them. Carolina scooped up Arizona wide receiver Tairoa McMillan, who should provide an ideal blend of ability, scheme, fit, and value. McMillan has the size at 6'4" and 219 pounds and ball skills needed to be a true number 1 receiver for third-year quarterback Bryce Young. McMillan actually, one expert compared McMillan to Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans in his pre-draft scouting profile. Panthers head coach Dave Canales coached Evans 2 years ago when he was the offensive coordinator in Tampa. In the second round, the Panthers got a potential difference maker for their defense. Texas A&M's Nick Scourton has the traits needed to make an immediate impact as a rookie. Carolina added some great depth pieces on day 3, including safety Lathan Ransom. General manager Dan Morgan addressed his team's biggest defensive needs, grabbed a receiver with number 1 potential, and added another intriguing piece to Carolina's budding backfield. It was a good 3 days at the office for a franchise that has hope after Bryce Young's late season emergence in 2024. B+ is my grade for the Carolina Panthers. MF, what says you?
Slight disagreement. I'm going to go B-. I think they did a fine job. I did not really like their first round draft pick. I didn't like it. I think they could have gone with a better wide receiver at the time. I think the receiving core was definitely a lot more productive. I think they kind of went a swing and a miss. I do like their day 2 and day 3 picks. I think they did a lot better with that. But I think as a whole, I think it wasn't really it was an okay, but I'm gonna be a little more nicer. I thought their day 2 was better when they got Nick Charlton and they got Prince Umakaya. I think that was good. To get Trevor Etienne was what a steal. What a steal for the Carolina Panthers. That was because his brother's Travis Etienne from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think that was a nice little thing for them. Shore up the D line and everything else. Still, there's some work to be done, but I'll give this about a B minus. I'll give them a B minus on this. So Anthony, next team, which I believe is Chicago.
Shout out to our good friend Matt Ward. It's his team, the Chicago Bears. And here are their selections. All right, off the bat, here you go, MF. Your boy, Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan. Luther Burden III, wide receiver, Missouri. Ozzie Trapilo, offensive tackle, Boston College. Shamar Turner, a defensive lineman from Texas A&M. Ruben Hippolyte II, linebacker from Maryland. Za Frazier, a cornerback from the University of Texas San Antonio, UTSA. Luke Newman, a guard from Michigan State. And Kyle Monange, a running back from Rutgers. All right, MF, do we have some good news or bad news for Mr. Ward and his Chicago Bears?
Pretty good news. I'll give it as a B+. Loved the Colston Loveland move. I couldn't believe they did that. I could not believe they went with him. I know a lot of people were ripping on the pick. This guy's going to be a monster. He's going to be that guy coming in to Chicago. He's going to be a perfect fit for your offense. He's a day 1 starter. I'm calling it right now. He's a day 1 starter for the Chicago Bears. I think that's exactly what Caleb Williams is going to need. A surefire, sure hands tight end. You can parlay him a little bit out as a wide receiver if you wanted to, but he is a good tight end to use. And then to get Luther Burden III was a great 1-2 punch. Then you got Ozzie Tolipo, which is a very good, solid. Then getting back in, remember, made that trade, getting Shamar Turner. So they really started themselves really well in this draft. I hate to be that guy, but I did not like their picks from 4 through 7. This is where they kind of fell off the cliff for me. And this is why I'm only giving them a B+. Because I did not like when they went into the 4th round, I thought this is where they started to miss guys, reach on a few draft picks. It was a solid draft, but I hate to say this, but this is why I can only give it a B+, because I love their first day, love their second day. Their third day was left to be desired. I'm sorry. I was not loving their 3rd round pick. As a matter of fact, if you want like round by round, day 1, I gave them an A. Day 2, they had a B+. Day 3, C- for that. So that rounds out to a B+ in my mind. I'll give it a B+ overall. Well, again, love day 1, love day 2. E on day 3. Anthony, it's yours.
In round 1, the Chicago Bears found themselves a terrific new target for second-year quarterback Caleb Williams. Michigan's Colston Loveland should be a wonderful complement to Cole Kmet and a Sam Laporta-like playmaker in the offense of new head coach Ben Johnson. And while, according to Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, teams were quote-unquote divided on whether Loveland or Penn State's Tyler Warren was the top tight end in the 2025 class. But Loveland ended up getting the benefit of the doubt on that one. Chicago got another weapon for, but let me get back to Loveland here. The reasoning was simple. Loveland has the same upside as a playmaker, but he's a more well-rounded tight end, particularly when used as a Y option. Chicago got another weapon for Williams and Johnson on day 2, adding Missouri wideout Luther Burden III. Burden, who tallied 2,263 receiving yards and 21 touchdowns in 38 games at Missouri, should partner with Warren, Kmet, DJ Moore, and Romeo Dunze to give the Bears a deep, talented receiving core. Chicago also added some day 2 value by trading back in a deal with Buffalo. Even after trading down, the Bears got themselves a quality tackle prospect in Boston College's Ozzie Trapilo, who was named the most pro-ready tackle. Texas A&M defensive lineman Shamar Turner should help address Chicago's 28th ranked run defense right away. On day 3, general manager Ryan Poles took a flyer on late riser Ruben Hippolyte II. Solid gamble at that point in the draft. If Ben Johnson is looking to replicate the success the Detroit Lions have had in recent years, and one can assume that's the plan, the Bears were wise to add pass catchers and build in the trenches over draft weekend. It's a slight disagreement, MF. You said B+. I'm actually going to be a little more generous. A- for the Chicago Bears for me. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals. And they selected with their picks Shamar Stewart, an edge from Texas A&M, Demetrius Knight Jr., a linebacker, South Carolina, Dylan Fairchild, inside-outside linebacker from Georgia, Barrett Carter, a linebacker from Clemson, Jalen Rivers, inside-outside linebacker from Miami, and Taj Brooks, a running back from Texas Tech. The Cincinnati Bengals entered draft weekend needing to find pass rushing help in a big way. Trey Hendrickson's contract situation remains unresolved, and Sam Hubbard retired earlier in the offseason. Yet, using the 17th pick on Texas A&M, Shamar Stewart felt like a gamble the Bengals should not have made. Stewart is a massive boomer bust prospect. He has elite physical tools but remains unpolished and had very modest production, 4.5 sacks in college. He'll need to be a better pro than college player for the bet to pay off. And Cincinnati does not have a strong track record of developing unfinished prospects. Addressing Cincinnati's underwhelming offensive line would have been a more sensible move on opening night. In the second round, the Bengals reached for South Carolina linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr. Linebacker was a significant need for Cincinnati, though, especially after Jermaine Pratt requested a trade in the early offseason. Cincinnati took a flyer on a second linebacker, Barrett Carter, in round 4, and added some backfield depth with Taj Brooks in round 6. Overall, the Bengals did address some needs, but they reached a bit too much to do so. They also could have afforded to throw a few more darts at their offensive line, though. At this point, we may have to accept that Cincinnati is content to see Joe Burrow take sacks regularly. For me, this is the lowest grade I have given so far. So for the Cincinnati Bengals, for me, it's a solid C. Solid C for the Cincinnati Bengals. MF, what says you?
I'm going to be a little more generous than you. I'm only going to give this a B-. I kind of feel like, look, first 2 days they did fine. Yes, I really did not like their third day. Shout out to my good friend, Jake Turner. This is his team. He's a Cincinnati Bengals fan, and he was on edge. I'll say that the entire weekend. But I thought they did fine in the first 2 days. Round 1, the first couple of rounds, I thought they did fine. Like you said, I wish they could have done better in the third day. I think they left a lot to be desired there. But I'm going to give them a generous B-. I think they did an all right job. Anthony, it's yours. Next team.
And the next team is the other team from Ohio, the Cleveland Browns. And with their picks, they selected Mason Graham, defensive lineman, Michigan. Carson Schwessinger, linebacker, UCLA. Quinshon Judkins, the running back from your national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. Harold Fannin Jr., a tight end from Bowling Green. Dylan Gabriel, quarterback from Oregon. Dylan Sampson, running back, Tennessee. And at pick number 144 in the 5th round, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. All right, MF, Cleveland. What says you?
B+ for Cleveland. And all right, let's get through all the other picks, and then we'll talk about the elephant in the room. All right. So Mason Graham, perfect pick. Excellent done. I really like this pick. I think he's going to be a beast. Pairing him up with that defense, that's going to be a nightmare for everybody else. To get the linebacker from UCLA, I thought they did all right. To get Junkins from Ohio State, that was a nice little complimentary back that you can get. Then you get Dillon Gabriel, which was the quarterback. And at that point, we're thinking, all right, that's it. Shedeur is out. There's no way Cleveland's going to go after him because of the fact that they got their quarterback. Then in round 5, they pick up Shedeur. Now, all right, there's a lot to unpack with this one. There's a lot of people that are saying he's a first-round talent. How on earth did he fall apart? Where did he go? What was the ramifications? Some people were talking about that it's film, that he never really expanded himself, that he never really did great in certain things, certain situations. There's also the linkage about, well, he's the son of Deion Sanders. That's Deion's son, so maybe there was something there. No. What happened was that supposedly, now I don't know if this is true or not, but there was a lot of rumors going around that Shedeur basically crashed and burned in a lot of interviews with certain teams. Excuse me. Kind of blow my nose. I apologize. So what happened was Shedeur basically crashed and burned in the interview process. Some of them was saying that he was very egotistical, very different areas, that basically he rubbed quite a few people the wrong way. And a lot of people turned around and this guy might be a problem with the locker room and this and that. And there was a lot of things going on. Now, at the time, everybody was passing on Shedeur. So obviously, the murmurs were getting a little louder that there's something more than what meets the eye. Because they're saying the level of play and everything else, it's not matching up. Well, the reason why he was so bad was, again, he basically torpedoed himself in the interview process. The Giants' Brian Daboll came out and is like, yeah, he basically came off very conceited, basically blamed his offensive line for a lot of the mistakes that he made, never took any ownership. And at that point, you got to think in the back of your mind, why would you take a flyer on him if that's what you're getting from any team? And multiple teams were saying this. Why would you take a flyer? Why would you take a chance on a guy if that's what you feel? Even though, if you remember, he was graded as a first-round talent, maybe the second or third best quarterback on the board. And he slid all the way down to day 3. Cleveland made the move because that's what Cleveland does, to basically see a quarterback that is diving down below them, and they're always the one to snatch them. Remember, this was like the Brady Quinn. Brady Quinn, everybody thought was going to be a Miami Dolphin. I even thought that Miami was going to take Brady Quinn. Brady fell down to 9. He was right there for the taking. And Miami passed him up and took Ted Ginn Jr. We went ballistic in Miami. We were like, what the bleep was this? He kept sliding until he got to 22. And then here comes the Cleveland Browns to snatch Brady Quinn. again. Everybody, the Giants, the Steelers, the Saints, the Raiders, they're all looking for quarterbacks. They all passed on him. None of them wanted him. It was like they were avoiding him like the plague. And the Browns are like, well, crap. Nobody wants him? Okay, we'll take him. I just want to understand and to let everybody know that, because there's been a lot of hugabaloo about this. There's been a lot of negativity about this pick. And the thing is that at the end of the day, we can say whatever we want. We have our own observations, our own thoughts, our own whatever you want to say. And we all have our own theories about why certain things went down the way it did. To me, this was probably the most necessary thing that probably needed to happen. Shedeur needed to be humbled, it sounds like. And that's what the NFL did. They basically told the kid, you gotta grow up. You gotta humble yourself, that this is not a right. Nothing is given. You gotta earn it. And the thing is, you may think you're a first round talent, but to the eyes of the NFL, to the eyes of this team, you're not it. That's not where we see you. That's not the vision that we have for you. So that's why I think a lot of people were stunned to see where he fell. Now, you can legitimately say, well, was this because of, was this the Deion Sanders effect? Were they punishing him because he was Deion's son? I don't think he was. I don't think it is. I just think they feel like he didn't do enough, or didn't, or that he basically put himself in a position to be lower than what he was. Now, if he came with the right attitude, the right whatever, maybe we talk about this being a lot different than what it was. So for me, I know why he fell. It was because he bombed on the interviews by multiple teams. And when you do that, when you burn that bridge, it's almost like a plague effect. Nobody wants you. And that's why I think he fell as far as he did. Now, it's not because of the level of play. His play is amazing. But he needs a reality check. And I think that's what it was. Even if it's right or wrong. Even if you feel he didn't deserve it or deserves it. We're not that kind of people. We're not going to judge. We don't judge character or anything like that. We watch their on-play field stuff. Tape-wise, he's pretty good. He's not that bad. Anthony, it's a B+. It's all yours.
Okay. Moving forward, the story of the Cleveland Browns draft will likely be centered around the team stopping Shedeur Sanders' dramatic slide in round 5, but I'll get to that momentarily. The Browns were widely expected to take Colorado cornerback and wide receiver Travis Hunter with the second overall pick. Instead, Cleveland provided the first surprise of the event by flipping the pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. While Cleveland got excellent value, a top 36 pick and a future first rounder is quite a haul. To only move down 3 spots, it passed up the chance to draft the closest person to a sure thing there was in this class. If Hunter becomes a perennial all-pro at receiver, cornerback, or both positions, last Thursday's trade may haunt the Browns for the next decade or more. That said, General Manager Andrew Berry got some big draft chips in return and a terrific player in Michigan defensive lineman Mason Graham. Cleveland came back for linebacker Carson Schweschinger at the top of round 2, and that selection felt like much more of a reach, though he is arguably the best off-ball linebacker remaining. With the Browns' second pick on day 2, the team targeted a starting caliber running back in Ohio State's Quinshon Judkins. may also have been a bit of a reach. Judkins, although Cleveland needed a starter and was unlikely to snag Judkins or an equivalent back in round 3. Judkins and 4th-round pick Dylan Sampson could give Cleveland one of the league's better young running back duos. Graham, Schlesinger, Judkins, Sampson, and Harold Fannin Jr. all have the potential to be early contributors, which boosts the overall grade for a team that needs young, cheap talent to help navigate the Deshaun Watson debacle. Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, who was drafted 2 rounds earlier, will compete with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett to be Cleveland's starting quarterback and possible quarterback of the future. Cleveland's draft strategy regarding Sanders can certainly be questioned. The Browns need a long-term answer at quarterback. He was highly ranked on a lot of boards and a prospect many had mocked to Cleveland at number 2 overall early in the pre-draft process. Getting a borderline first-round talent in round 5, however, is a steal under almost any circumstance. The Browns roster is much, much stronger than it was a week ago, and there's at least a glimmer of hope for the future. You said B+? I agree. It is a B+ for me as well for the Cleveland Browns. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys. And they selected Tyler Booker, inside-outside linebacker, Alabama. Donovan Eziruaku, an edge from Boston College. Siobhan Revel Jr., cornerback, East Carolina. Jaden Blue, running back from Texas. Shamar James, linebacker, Florida. Ejani Cornelius, offensive tackle from Oregon. Jay Tola, defensive tackle, UCLA. Phil Maffa, running back from Clemson. And Tommy Aking Basodi, defensive tackle, Maryland. After first-round picks on fairly significant projects in each of the past 2 years on defensive tackle Mazi Smith and offensive tackle Tyler Guyton, the Dallas Cowboys went with a more pro-ready prospect last Thursday. Alabama's Tyler Booker was a 2-year starter at guard for Alabama and comes into the NFL with a 6'5", 321-pound frame, a physical play style, and an aggressive demeanor. Booker should be a strong fit for the balanced offense of new head coach Brian Schottenheimer. He will not make fans forget about future Hall of Famer Zach Martin, who retired in the offseason, but he'll help replace him. Taking Booker at number 12 represents a slight reach. It was still a sensible decision by the Cowboys. Dallas got its developmental prospect early on day 2, grabbing Boston College pass rusher Donovan Eziruaku. Eziruaku should, however, contribute early as a situational player. Dallas waited until the 5th round to add a running back, but Jaden Blue and Phil Maffa should push Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders for playing time as a rookie. Cornerback Siobhan Revel Jr. will provide much-needed depth while Trayvon Diggs continues to recover from a significant knee injury. Overall, the Cowboys did a solid job of adding players who should contribute right away and provide long-term value. One of my winners of the draft for me, solid A for the Dallas Cowboys. MF, what says you?
Slight disagreement, but it's still in the A level. I do agree with that, but it is an A-. I do agree that they definitely did really good. And you know, normally we don't, I know we don't really talk about it, but I need to say it. If you're Derek Ferrera, our former colleague who is a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, you should be very proud of your team. They did a very good job. Especially the second day and the third day was really where you racked up. I think I really loved the Donovan Eziruaku move. I love the Sheldon Revel Jr. move, the Jaden Blue, because now all of a sudden you start to fill the gaps that you really need. Running back is one of the areas where you really needed a lot of help. I really think you did an incredible job with that. You definitely did shore up your crew with the O-line, but there was a few skill players that you could have taken. I think that's why a lot of people were slamming them after day 1, because they went with the offensive guard, the Tyler Booker move. I think a lot of people were like, you could have gotten somebody better there, but once you got out of day 1, once you got past the first round, that's when Dallas kind of found themselves. In day 2, the second and third round, they really did good. They racked up on the third day. When you get 2 5s, a 6, and 3 7s, and you nailed on almost every single one of them, A-. Well done, Dallas. Great job. Impressive performance. to say the very least. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right, next team, MF. This one's for my Uncle Ed. It's his team, the Dallas Cowboys. Or should I say the Denver Broncos?
Denver Broncos. Whoa!
Bit of a bit of a botcheroo. I'm not perfect.
So. Yeah, no, I'll give you that.
Denver Broncos. That's Uncle Ed's team, and here's who they selected with their picks: Jahdae Barron, cornerback from Texas; R.J. Harvey, running back, UCF; Pat Bryant, a wide receiver from Illinois; Savion Jones, a defensive lineman, LSU; Quandarius Robinson, an edge from Alabama; Jeremy Crawshaw, a punter from Florida; and Caleb Lawner, a tight end from Utah. All right, MF, how did Uncle Ed and the Broncos do?
All right, Uncle Ed, I you know what? I remember Anthony was I remember when it was really back then when I did that go crazy Uncle Ed about the St. Louis Cardinals winning the World Series. Well, I'll say this. You can be very proud of your Denver Broncos. It's a B+ for me. They did absolutely incredible. Getting that first round, getting Barnum, the corner, that's exactly what they needed. That was a home run hit. That was a spectacular pick for me. I kind of feel like they didn't really do good with the second and third round pick. I kind of feel like they were both reaches, but they did end up pretty strong on the third day. So for me, I can only give this a B+. I think they did an all right job. Like I said, love day 1, love day 3. Day 2 was left to be desired. So that's what I say. Anthony, it's yours.
Plenty of folks probably expected the Denver Broncos to target an offensive player on opening night who could help support second-year quarterback Bo Nix. Instead, the Broncos made an equally smart move by adding to their playoff caliber defense. Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron may immediately form part of the league's top cornerback duo alongside reigning Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain II. Barron brought tremendous value at number 20, even if he'll simply bolster a team's strength. Denver added a complimentary receiving back in UCF's R.J. Harvey after trading back in the second round. More defensive help came in the middle rounds, along with a big-bodied receiver in Pat Bryant at 6'2", 208 pounds. He should complement pass catchers Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims Jr., and Evan Engram, and coach Sean Payton's passing attack. Savion Jones and Quandarius Robinson should provide depth along an already talented defensive front. Denver didn't take a wide receiver early and did not add a big-name running back like Ashton Gianti or Omarion Hampton to its offense. So its draft class might fly under the radar. It's a solid group, though, that should help keep the Broncos in the AFC West mix. You said B+, MF. Small disagreement, but not much. Solid B for the Denver Broncos. So with that, we move on to our next team, the Detroit Lions. And here's who they selected with their picks. Talik Williams, defensive lineman from the champion Ohio State Buckeyes. Tate Ratledge, inside-outside linebacker from the Maiden Georgia Bulldogs. Isaac Tesla, wide receiver, Arkansas. Miles Frazier, inside-outside linebacker, LSU. Ahmad Hassanin, an edge from Boise State. And two more Maiden Georgia Bulldogs, Dan Jackson, a safety, and Dominic Lovett, a wide receiver. The Detroit Lions selection of Ohio State defensive lineman Talik Williams in the first round probably didn't generate many headlines. Adding an interior defender isn't quite as exciting as adding a game-breaking receiver or a dominant edge defender. And the Lions have been searching for a complementary sack artist to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. However, Williams does fit Detroit's defensive identity and needs. The Lions featured a strong defensive front when healthy over the last 2 years, but standout defensive tackle Aleem McNeil is coming off a torn ACL, while free agent addition DJ Reader will turn 31 in July. Detroit stayed in the trenches in round 2, scooping up Georgia interior lineman Tate Ratledge. He was the 50th ranked overall prospect and a very sensible selection for the Lions. 2024 starting guard Kevin Zeitler departed in free agency. The Lions got more interior line depth with Miles Frazier and took flyers on wideout Isaac Tesla and edge rusher Ahmad Haas. Moving up to get Tesla came at a cost, though, namely a pair of 2026 third-round selections. This was a solid draft for Detroit, though the Lions may not see significant early contributions from their rookie class. C+ is my grade for the Detroit Lions. MF, what your grade for the Detroit Lions?
Ooh, I think you were a little harsh there, Anthony. You were very harsh. You gave it a C+. Nah, man, I disagree. This is a B, man. This was a solid B. Now, I'll give you this. Day one, I'll give it a B+. Day two, I'll see you at the C level. I thought they didn't really do good, but damn it to hell, they got some depth and some real good picks in the third day. So I disagree with everything you said on at least when it comes to that, and I give this a solid B for the Detroit Lions. Now let's go off to the Green Bay Packers. It's yours, Florio.
Yes, Green Bay Packers are next, and here's who they selected with their picks. Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas. Anthony Belton, offensive tackle, North Carolina State. Savion Williams, wide receiver, TCU. Barron Sorrell, an edge from Texas. Colin Oliver, linebacker, Oklahoma State. Warren Brinson, defensive tackle from Georgia. Micah Robinson, defensive back from Tulane. And John Williams, an offensive tackle from Cincinnati. All right, MF, Green Bay Packers. What's your grade for the Cheeseheads?
All right, first off, I want to give a shout out to another friend of mine on the Discord group. His name is Austin Slokey, diehard Green Bay Packer fan. And I also want to give a shout out to my good friend Derek Martin, a member of the 2184 crew, also a cheesehead as well. This was really crazy. So I'm on draft night talking about the draft with the Discord guys, and we were about to wrap up the night and everything else, but we stuck around because obviously, Green Bay was the next pick. Then we heard the shocker. For the first time in ages, they decided to take a wide receiver. And I can literally say there was a freak out in the Discord chat. My friend absolutely lost his mind that they got a wide receiver. And they got Matthew Golden, who's a pretty good wide receiver, by the way. That was an absolute bargain of a move for Green Bay. And everybody was all excited. We lost our minds in the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the day, I got to give this an A-. I think Green Bay did very well here. So I really got nothing else to say, Anthony. So A- is my grade, and it's all yours, my friend.
MF, you nailed one of my points here. The jokes about the Green Bay Packers not valuing wide receivers in the draft can finally end. Green Bay ended its 20-plus year run of not drafting a receiver in round one by taking Texas's Matthew Golden and making quite the show of it. Selecting Golden wasn't about breaking trends, though. It was about finally providing quarterback Jordan Love with a legitimate difference maker. With an elite combination of size at 6 feet and 195 pounds and speed, 4.29 second 40-yard dash, Golden will likely replace Christian Watson as Green Bay's de facto number one target. Watson suffered a torn ACL in January and has never quite emerged as a reliable number one receiver. Golden might not be that either, but he'll certainly add some potency to the Packers' passing attack. Savion Williams will add additional competition to the receiver room and should put some of Green Bay's existing receivers on notice. In the second round, the Packers may have reached for North Carolina offensive tackle Anthony Belton. Belton should add competition at tackle, though, while edge rusher Barron Sorrell will help address the Packers' need for another situational sack specialist. General manager Brian Gutekunst added some much-needed defensive depth on day 3, though it was a bit surprising that he didn't target cornerback help early in the draft. Green Bay may need to see a big jump in passing production for this draft to be considered a success. I got to be the man who tells it like it is. I got to drop the hammer again. This is another C+. C+ for the Green Bay Packers. Moving on. Excuse me. Next team is the Houston Texans. And here are their selections. Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, Iowa State. Arante Urseri, offensive tackle, Minnesota. Jalen Noel, wide receiver, Iowa State. Jalen Smith, cornerback from USC. Woody Marks, running back, USC. Jalen Reed, a safety from Penn State. Graham Mertz, quarterback from Florida. Keontae Hamilton, defensive tackle from Rutgers. And Luke Lachey, tight end from Iowa. The Houston Texans did not make a selection on opening night, choosing instead to trade with the New York Giants so that New York could get its quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. General manager Nick Caserio made the move after the Minnesota Vikings picked Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson at number 24. In exchange for the 25th pick, Houston got a respectable return. Houston also got a quality receiver prospect early on day 2. Iowa State's Jaden Higgins is a big, at 6'4", 214 pounds. He's a big possession receiver who should add a new dynamic to the receiving core. Higgins will also help the Texans replace the departed Stephon Diggs and give C.J. Stroud a reliable target as Tank Dell recovers from the devastating knee injury he suffered at Kansas City in Week 16 last year. He and third-round pick and former teammate Jalen Noel should stabilize Houston's receiver depth this season. Texans also got themselves a tackle after trading up in round 2 to secure Minnesota's Arante Urseri. Urseri should provide much-needed depth right away and could develop into a long-term starter for the Texans. It would have been nice to see Houston invest a little more into its offensive line. However, the Texans did a good job of addressing most of its major needs while further building the foundation of a young, dynamic receiving core that can grow alongside C.J. Stroud for the foreseeable future. B+ is my grade for the Houston Texans. MF, your grade for Houston.
All right, let's see. I do believe, let me see if it's slight disagreement again. I'll give this an A-. I think they did a really good job. Love the first 2-day pick. They didn't have a round 1 pick, but the round 2 and 3 was really, really good. But again, they fell off the cliff in day 4. In the final day. I wasn't really too keen on a lot of their picks towards the end. So at the end of the day, it's an A- for me. So Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF, and we move on to the Indianapolis Colts, and here are their selections. Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State. JT Tuimoloau, an edge from the national champion Ohio State. Justin Wally, cornerback from Minnesota. Jalen Travis, offensive tackle, Iowa State. DJ Giddens, a running back from Kansas State. Riley Leonard, quarterback, Notre Dame. Tim Smith, defensive lineman, Alabama. And Hunter Wohler, a safety from Wisconsin. MF, your boy Pat McAfee, his former team. How did they do?
For the brand, for the win. One of the winners of the NFL draft in my mind.
Agreed.
They absolutely nailed it. All 3 days, A-level grades for me. I can't say nothing bad about any of the picks. That's the crazy part of it. So, no, man, I think they did an incredible job. Loved every pick. To me, it was an A-level. Congratulations, Indianapolis Colts. You were one of my big winners of the draft. Solid A, Anthony.
It's going to be a small disagreement, even though it's a good rating. The Indianapolis Colts are set to hold a quarterback competition between 2023 fourth overall pick Anthony Richardson and free agent addition Daniel Jones. The hope, obviously, is for Richardson to finally play up to his draft status and emerge as an above-average signal caller. The Colts needed to upgrade their offensive cast this offseason, and they've long needed a dynamic receiving tight end. They landed one in Penn State's Tyler Warren while making one of the most obvious picks of opening night. Indianapolis was widely expected to take a tight end in round 1. Most mock drafts had Colston Loveland going to Indy, but Loveland went to Chicago at number 10, leaving Warren as the perfect choice for the Colts at number 14. On day 2, the Colts grabbed Ohio State pass rusher JT Tuimoloau, who probably would have been a high 2024 draft selection if he hadn't decided to return to college to chase a national championship with the Buckeyes. Cornerback Justin Wally was probably more of a reach in round 3. Day 3 was mostly about depth for the Colts, and that's where they added Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard. Leonard probably will not push Richardson or Jones for the starting job, but he can settle in as a long-term backup. Did Chris Ballard hit on every pick last weekend? Perhaps not, but Warren and Tuamolu should be instant impact players. It's a slight disagreement, but I was very high on Indy's. I'm not going to say they were the winners of the draft, but they were one of them. They were one of my low-key winners. So B+ is my grade for Indianapolis. Staying in the AFC South, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and here's who they selected. The Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback from Colorado. Caleb Ransaw, safety, Tulane. Wyatt Millam, inside-outside linebacker, West Virginia. Bayshul Tutin, a running back from Virginia Tech. Jack Kaiser, linebacker, Notre Dame. Jalen McLeod, linebacker, Auburn. Rayun Lane the third, safety from Navy. Jonah Monheim, inside-outside linebacker from USC. And LaQuint Allen Jr., running back from Syracuse. Did the Jaguars give up a lot for Colorado receiver and defensive back Travis Hunter? Yes. Can Hunter change the face of the franchise? Jacksonville seems to think so. If Hunter can be a Pro Bowl talent at both receiver and cornerback, or if as a wideout he can simply help Trevor Lawrence play up to his potential, the Jags should be happy with their return on investment. However, it was a steep price. Jacksonville gave up its second-round pick and a 2026 first-round selection to move up 3 spots and add a 6th-round pick and a higher 4th-round selection. We'll have to wait and see how Hunter pans out. But on paper, he addresses 2 of Jacksonville's biggest pre-draft needs. The Jags didn't pick again until late on day 2, but landed a possible early contributor in safety Caleb Ransaw. 4th-round pick Bayshul Tutin should also make an early impact as part of Jacksonville's backfield rotation. It's clear that Gladstone is willing to take an aggressive approach to team construction, which might be precisely what the Jags need to return to relevance. A solid draft class and a justifiable superstar will certainly help. And this grade is mostly for adding Travis Hunter and some other good picks. This is another one of my winners here. This is one of my bigger winners of the draft. A- is my grade for the Jacksonville Jaguars. MF, what says you?
For only the second time tonight, Anthony, we agree. It is an A-. And it is exactly what you said, the Travis Hunter move. The Travis Hunter move was the biggest difference, and it absolutely delivered. And then some. So there's really nothing more to say. So, Anthony, next team.
And that next team is your reigning, defending AFC champion, Kansas City Chiefs. And here's who the Chiefs selected with their picks. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from the national champion Ohio State. Omar Norman Lott, defensive lineman, Tennessee. Ashton Jalott, an edge from Louisville. Noel Williams, cornerback, California. Jalen Royals, a wide receiver from Utah State. Jeffrey Bassa, a linebacker from Oregon. And Brashard Smith, a running back from SMU. MF, how did the most hated team in the NFL do in this draft?
A-, and one of the winners of the draft.
Yeah.
Kansas City just knows how to handle it. They know what to do. They know how to draft. And this is why everybody hates them. You hate them because you're not them, is what they would say at this point. So, yes, do they got the brash? Do they got the bravado? Do they got the ego? Yeah, they do. Does anybody give two you know what's about it? Absolutely not. Because until you knock them off, until you stop them, or you hope to contain them, you're not gonna. They are still the class of the AFC, and they prove it year in and year out when they actually draft the right guys. A- is the draft for Kansas City, and again, like I said, one of the top winners of this draft. So Anthony, it's yours.
The Kansas City Chiefs didn't make waves at the bottom of round 1, but they certainly got some value. First, Kansas City traded back one spot to let the Eagles secure Alabama linebacker Jahad Campbell. The Chiefs pocketed a 5th-round pick in the move and still landed a promising tackle prospect in Josh Simmons at number 32. Simmons is coming off a significant knee injury, but the Chiefs were comfortable with his recovery. Offensive line issues were a major problem in 2024, and while Simmons may not supplant free agent addition Jalen Moore immediately, he could become Kansas City's long-term solution at left tackle. General manager Brett Veach deserves credit for the slam dunk series of moves that led to Simmons in round 1. The Chiefs added to their defensive front in round 2, grabbing Tennessee defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott. At 6'2" and 291 pounds, Norman Lott is just a tad undersized for the interior, but should have some early pass rushing value. Ashton Jalott and Noel Williams were also added to the defense on day 2. Kansas City finally turned back to the offense in round 4 and may have gotten a steal in wideout Jalen Royals. The Utah State product caught 21 touchdown passes over the last 2 seasons. Did the Chiefs add a slew of immediate difference makers? Probably not. However, Veach got some solid value early and late while adding several prospects who can develop into quality contributors down the road. Slight disagreement, MF. You said A-. Slight disagreement from me. And I'm being honest here. I'm being fair. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's because you hate the Chiefs. Yes, I do, but not enough to really punish them. I'm going to be respectful and go in the middle. Solid B is my grade for the Kansas City Chiefs. So with that being said, let's move on to our next team, the Las Vegas Raiders. And here's who they selected with their picks. Ashton Gianti, running back, Boise State. Jack Beck, wide receiver, TCU. Darian Porter, cornerback, Iowa State. Caleb Rogers, inside-outside linebacker, Texas Tech. Charles Grant, offensive tackle, William & Mary. Dante Thornton Jr., wide receiver, Tennessee. Tonka Hemingway, defensive lineman, South Carolina. J.J. Pegas, defensive lineman, Ole Miss. Tommy Mellott, a wide receiver from Montana State. Cam Miller, a quarterback from North Dakota State. And Cody Lindenberg, a linebacker from Minnesota. Sometimes teams really do what others expect on draft night. A cursory search of pre-draft mocks will likely uncover several that pair the Las Vegas Raiders with running back Ashton Gianti. Gianti was still on the board at number 6, and Las Vegas did not hesitate to get new coach Pete Carroll his next dominant ball carrier. He got a lot of praise from a lot of scouting departments, citing how well Gianti meshes with what Las Vegas has put in place this offseason. Gianti will immediately take pressure off veteran quarterback Geno Smith, the Raiders' marquee offseason acquisition. He's truly a special runner and should feast in Chip Kelly's running back friendly scheme. The Raiders traded down twice near the top of round 2, adding some valuable capital in a draft that was believed to have depth in the middle rounds. They still managed to add another potential playmaker in TCU wide receiver Jack Beck, a physical, reliable possession receiver who should complement the rest of Las Vegas's receiving core. Dante Thornton Jr. may be more of a project, but should add big play speed to Las Vegas receiving core. Gianti, Beck, Thornton, Brock Bowers, and Jacoby Myers should form the foundation of a potent, multifaceted offense in 2025. Darian Porter has the skills needed to be an early contributor in the secondary, while Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant will help solidify the Raiders' offensive line depth. Las Vegas added some quality defensive depth later in the draft and finally settled on a developmental quarterback in North Dakota State's Cam Miller. However, this draft was all about finding the pieces needed to field a Pete Carroll team. One with a dominant ground game, strong offensive line, and physical defense. In that regard, this class looks terrific. One of my big winners of this NFL draft. A+ is my grade for the Las Vegas Raiders. One of my winners of the draft, if not my winner of this NFL draft. A+ for the Las Vegas Raiders. MF, how about it?
Slight disagreement. You're right there. I'm not giving it the A+, but I'm giving it a solid A. But you are correct. They were one of the winners of the draft, and they did absolutely. They maneuvered this draft absolutely the Raider way. They went with Ashton Gianti, which was the best running back out there, maybe the best physical player in the entire draft altogether. Al Davis, he loves speed. He loves fastness. He loves the brute strength and everything else. This is an Al Davis pick. This is. I don't care what anybody says. This is an Al Davis pick. And Mark Davis, the now owner, and of course he had a little help from Tom Brady himself, because Brady also had his hands in this as well. But they got the right guy at the right moment, and this guy is going to be compared to another great running back that Pete Carroll had in Seattle named Marshawn Lynch. You can already hear the comparisons. So for me, this was an absolute home run. They nailed it out of the park. A for me. Yes, Anthony, they were one of the winners of the draft. So next team.
We're going to Los Angeles. We got our next two teams are our teams from Los Angeles, and we're going to start it off with the Los Angeles Chargers. With their selections, they selected Omarion Hampton, running back, North Carolina; Trey Harris, wide receiver, Ole Miss; Jamari Caldwell, defensive lineman, Oregon; Kyle Kennard, an edge from South Carolina; Keandre Lambert-Smith, a wide receiver from Auburn; Oronde Gadsden II, tight end, Syracuse, the son of one of MF's all-time favorites, Oronde Gadsden.
Oronde Gadsden, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, yes.
That's his boy, MF. Branson Taylor, offensive tackle from Pittsburgh; R.J. Mickens, a safety from Clemson; and Trickweezy Bridges, a cornerback from Florida. All right, MF, the first of our LA teams, the Chargers. How'd they do?
I thought they did very well. And I had them winning on this end of the draft. I think they were the better of the two LA teams. I gave this an A-. I thought they did a very good job. I thought it was solid for what they had done at the time. They could have done better in certain areas, but I'm going to say it. They definitely were the winners for me. So I give this an A-, like I said. So I thought they were definitely one of the big winners of this draft. So Anthony, it's yours.
Like the Raiders, the Los Angeles Chargers opted for a potential game-changing running back in round 1. As with Vegas's pick, we probably could have seen the Chargers selection coming. Head coach Jim Harbaugh loves to lead with the running game, and North Carolina's Omarion Hampton has all the tools needed to be a top 10 or even a top 5 running back in the NFL. Hampton should be a terrific fit for Greg Roman's offense because of his physical, efficient running style and his pass protection. Justin Herbert will love having him in the backfield. Los Angeles got another weapon for Herbert in round 2, grabbing Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris. He should add both talent and versatility to the Chargers receiver room. He is alignment versatile and can play all 3 wide receiver positions effectively. With his route running, strength, and football IQ, Harris projects as a productive starting receiver at the next level. LA also took a flyer on Auburn receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith in round 5. Lambert-Smith is likely to be a developmental project at best, but his 4.37 speed is tough to ignore. General manager Joe Horwitz added depth to the defensive front in the middle rounds, grabbing Jamari Caldwell and Kyle Kennard. It's clear that Horwitz and Harbaugh are on the same page when it comes to building in the trenches. Slight disagreement on this one, MF. You said A-. I'm actually going to give it a B+ for the Los Angeles Chargers. And we move on to the other Los Angeles team, the Los Angeles Rams. And with their selections, they picked Terrence Ferguson, tight end, Oregon; Josiah Stewart, an edge from Michigan; Jarquez Hunter, running back, Auburn; Ty Hamilton, defensive tackle from the national champion Ohio State; Chris Paul Jr., linebacker, Ole Miss; and Kanata Mumpfield, a wide receiver from Pittsburgh. Well, the Rams' run of being first-round relevant proved to be short-lived. A year ago, general manager Les Snead made Jared Verse the franchise's only first-round selection since 2016. Last Thursday, Snead flipped the 26th and 101st picks to the Atlanta Falcons for the 46th and 242nd picks, along with a 2026 first-rounder. As head coach Sean McVay said after the fact, this was too much value to pass up. During the Rams' first-round drought, the front office became exceptional at finding high-level contributors on days 2 and 3. The Rams likely felt they'd be getting a second-round talent at number 26 anyway, so they essentially flipped a third-round pick for a future first. The Rams made their first selection of this draft in round 2, grabbing Oregon tight end Terrence Ferguson. He should provide valuable depth behind Tyler Higbee and should contribute right away as a rotational player. He has developmental upside as a blocker and contested catch target. While Josiah Stewart's lack of elite size and physical tools may make him seem like a third-round reach, While Josiah Stewart's lack of elite size and physical tools may make him seem like a third-round reach, the Rams have shown that they know how to get the most from productive defensive linemen. Jarquez Hunter should have a chance to contribute to the backfield early, while Ty Hamilton should provide even more depth along the defensive front. The Rams would have been wise to add a cornerback or an elite off-ball linebacker early, but they navigated the draft fairly successfully, considering they traded their first-round selection. B+ is my grade for the Los Angeles Rams. So, MF, what says you?
Total agreement here. It was going to be a B+. I think they did a fine job. I really got nothing more to say about it. I wish they could have been a little better in certain areas, but I think they did a fine job. So, yeah, nothing more to say. Anthony, it is yours.
You ready, MF? It's your team. Here we go. Good old MF Michael Fletcher's Miami Dolphins. They are next up on our docket. And with their selections, here's who they picked. Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman, Michigan. Jonah Saviania. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. He's an inside-outside linebacker from Arizona. Jordan Phillips, defensive lineman, Maryland. Jason Marshall Jr., cornerback, Florida. Dante Trader Jr., safety from Maryland. Ollie Gordon II, running back from Oklahoma State. Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas. And Zeke Biggers, defensive lineman, Georgia Tech. All right, MF, how'd your team do?
I will say, out of the gate, they got the depth, they got the need. And the two areas where we were really worried about was defense and the linebacker. And once we got that, we started out really hot. You know, we got the Kenneth Grant, which was the perfect guy. Then we traded up to get Jonah. And that was the guy we needed more than anything else. Offensive guard, offensive tackle is the biggest needs that we had. Then to get Jordan Phillips, which was, another D tackle. So now we got 2 D tackles to work with, a corner and a safety. Offensively, we were stouted. That was the one area where we needed. Yes, we needed a running back, which was Ollie Gordon, because we needed a big physical back, that's the one area where Miami kind of struggled last year, is that the down and distance, when we need short yardage, when we need to get the first down, for some odd reason, Miami was not getting those yardage. We were making mistakes there, and we didn't have a physical back. The Quinn Ewers move is a little bit of a shocker, because I know a lot of people's like, oh, why are they getting a quarterback? Guys, we need a quarterback. We need the quarterback of the future, and here's the reason why. Tua Tagovailoa, you know the history with his injuries. You know the history with his concussions. Maybe this is the way to say, hey, if Tua doesn't pan out, this is our guy for the future. Because he knows the system. He knows he knows what Mike McDaniel's offense runs. So this is the perfect guy. And I know there's some people out there that feels like, maybe that might be the right idea. Some maybe feel like this might not be the right guy. We'll see. I mean, relatively speaking, I'm happy with the move. I'm happy with the pick. I'm happy with everything that we did. So, to me, I got nothing bad to say. This was a B+ for the Miami Dolphins. I thought they did a solid job. Yes, there's certain areas where we still need to work on, but at least this was, in my opinion, the first right step for the Dolphins heading into 2025. So, Anthony, it's yours.
I should have put a disclaimer out at the start of our show tonight when I say that the grades that we give, they're they're not, they're not to be, taken personally or anything like that. It's not personal feelings or any of that. And this is going to be a disagreement here, but a respectful one. This is one of those with all due respect situations. This is I know that there's probably going to be some people who are saying, oh, you're saying this because you hate the Dolphins. No, I don't. I have the utmost respect for MF and his Dolphins, but there is a disagreement on this grade. And but before I give you the grade, let me just tell you why. It's not a big punishment or anything like that, but the Miami Dolphins kicked off their 2025 draft class with a bit of a reach. While Michigan defensive tackle Kenneth Grant possesses enough upside to justify going in round 1, I think he's unlikely to be an every down contributor. At 6'4" and 331 pounds, Grant projects as more of a space-eating nose tackle than a versatile 3-down defender. Miami has needed defensive line help since losing Christian Wilkins in 2024 free agency, but there was better value to be found at number 13. Defensive lineman Walter Nolan, tight end Tyler Warren, and edge rusher Shamar Stewart had higher upside, and they were drafted after him on opening night. Miami continued to be aggressive in addressing needs on day 2. Following a trade with the Raiders, the Dolphins grabbed themselves a guard in Arizona's Jonah Savaiinaea. Savaiinaea can provide depth at tackle, but will likely make a more immediate impact if the Dolphins play him inside. Savaiinaea is best suited inside at guard in the NFL, where his starter-level size, square-powered initial quicks can earn him a starting role early in his rookie contract. Trading up for Savaiinaea was smart and may provide a bigger impact this season than the drafting of Grant. However, it's hard to envision Miami getting early contributions from day 3 selections like Jordan Phillips and Jason Marshall Jr. Taking a flyer on Quinn Ewers was smart, given Tua Tagovailoa's lengthy injury history, like MF mentioned. Ewers may never develop into a high-level starter, but he can become a long-term backup for the Dolphins, and they can definitely use one. I will give you that. Overall, though, I think it's hard to think Miami will make a big 2025 jump because of its draft class. This is not a personal thing by any measure. This is with all due respect, it's a solid C for the Miami Dolphins. So with that, we move on to the Minnesota Vikings. And with their picks, they only had 5, and here's who they selected. Donovan Jackson, inside-outside linebacker from the champion Ohio State. Ty Felton, wide receiver, Maryland. Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, defensive lineman, Georgia. Kobe King, linebacker, Penn State. And Gavin Bartholomew, tight end, Pittsburgh. Despite entering draft weekend with only 4 total selections, the Vikings opted to take Ohio State defensive lineman Donovan Jackson at number 24 instead of trading down in round 1. Both the 25th and 26th selections were dealt by the Texans and Rams, respectively. Presumably, Minnesota felt it could struggle to find quality offensive line help later in the draft, so it scooped up Jackson. While his selection at number 24 may have been a reach, the logic behind it was sound. The Vikings are looking to turn the offense over to J.J. McCarthy in 2025 and needed to revamp their offensive interior. Jackson will join Ryan Kelly and Will Fries as additions who should help solidify Minnesota's blocking unit. Minnesota did move down to in round 3, grabbing the 102nd and 142nd picks by sending the 97th and 187th picks to Houston. With the 102nd pick, the Vikings grabbed Maryland receiver Ty Felton, who could be a very strong complement to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. If paired with a true number 1 receiver, he can find success on the lesser defenders on the opposing defense. The Vikings also found their veteran quarterback insurance to pair with McCarthy by acquiring Sam Howell from the Seattle Seahawks. However, Howell should not be a threat to McCarthy as the starter, but will provide solid depth in the quarterback room. Day 3 prospects Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, Kobe King, and Gavin Bartholomew figure to be pure depth and may struggle to make the final 53-player roster. All in all, though, General Manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah did a nice job of maximizing Minnesota's limited draft capital. Another low tier grade here. C+. C+ is my grade for Minnesota. MF, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they did all right to say the very least. I kind of feel like, it's more of a B for me. It was basically a B straight across the board. There was really nothing that they did a fine job and basically they did good. So nothing next, nothing up. Next up, New England.
And too bad Michael Bullock's not here. His team, this is his team now, the New England Patriots. And with their selections, they had a lot of them, so bear with me. Will Campbell, offensive lineman, LSU. Travion Henderson, running back, Ohio State. Kyle Williams, wide receiver, Washington State. Jared Wilson, inside-outside linebacker, Georgia. Craig Woodson, safety, California. Joshua Farmer, defensive lineman, Florida State. Braden Swinson, an edge from LSU. Andres Borregales, a kicker from the U, Miami. Marcus Bryant, offensive tackle, Missouri. Julian Ashby, long safety from Vanderbilt. And Kobe Minor, a defensive back from Memphis. All right, MF, as you know, it's not just Bullock, but almost all of our friends in our group outing crew, they're all diehard New England Patriots. They have a much bigger following than we do with Bills Mafia and the Fins up with the Dolphins. So what's the prognosis for all our friends who are Patriot fans?
It's a solid B. I can't go any more further than that. I know there's a lot of mocks that's been giving them A grades. I don't see it. I think it's a solid B. I think they did a really good job. I think day one was, to get Will Campbell at number 1, at the number 4 overall, I thought was a fine pickup. I thought they did really well in day 2 with the Travion Henderson, with the Kyle Williams, with the Jared Wilson. I thought they did all right. I think they did really good with that. And then day 3 was fine. There wasn't really anything that really stood out for me. So I know I'm going to get a little heat from the Patriot fans because they're going to say, "Oh, that's a hate move." No, it's not. It's a B. That's the grade. Florio, is yours.
Once again, we disagree. But I think the Patriots, I'm not doing this to appease them, of course, but it's like I said, we're just being fair. That's what we're doing. We're being fair. LSU offensive lineman Will Campbell always felt like the right pick for the New England Patriots at number 4. While he didn't draw as much attention as Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Cam Ward entering this draft, he's a high-floor prospect who will thrive as a tackle or guard in New England. The Patriots are looking to build a strong offense around second-year quarterback Drake May, and finding an instant impact starter along the offensive line was a wise way to begin the draft. New England continued building its offense on day 2, using the 38th pick on Ohio State running back Travion Henderson. Henderson should make an immediate impact as a ball carrier and as a pass catcher. He'll add some much-needed home run ability to the Patriots' offense. He will pair with Ramondre Stevenson to create a backfield that should concern opposing defensive coordinators this season. Kyle Williams should give May an explosive target who can generate big plays before or after the catch. Defensive prospects Craig Woodson and Joshua Farmer should get opportunities to contribute early. Of course, the goal in this draft was to improve Drake May's supporting cast, and I thought the Patriots did a wonderful job of doing just that. Another one of my winners. This is another one of my winners in this draft. A+ for the New England Patriots. Very good draft for New England. Next up is the New Orleans Saints, and they selected Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive lineman from Texas, Tyler Show, quarterback from Louisville, Vernon Broughton, defensive lineman from Texas, Jonas Sanker, a safety from Virginia, Danny Stutzman, linebacker, Oklahoma, Quincy Riley, cornerback, Louisville, Devin Neal, running back, Kansas, Moliki Mataveo, tight end, UCLA, and Fadil Diggs, an edge from Syracuse. There was plenty of buzz connecting the New Orleans Saints and quarterbacks like Colorado Shedeur Sanders entering draft weekend. This in no small part was a result of the shoulder injury that quote-unquote threatens incumbent starter Derek Carr's availability in 2025. However, the Saints didn't draft a quarterback with the 9th pick. Instead, they reached for Texas lineman Kelvin Banks Jr. New Orleans simply reacted to the mistakes it has already made along the line. Trevor Penning still is not an NFL caliber pass blocker. Taliese Fuaga never should have been moved to left tackle. Banks isn't necessarily a tailor-made left tackle despite playing the position in college, questions remain about whether he can stay on an island and remain effective. 9th overall was too high for Banks, plain and simple. The Saints did come back for their quarterback in round 2 using the 40th overall pick on Louisville's Tyler Shough. While Shough comes into the NFL with durability concerns, his combination of size, athleticism, maturity, and arm talent makes him a strong fit for Kellen Moore's offense if he can put everything together. The talent and potential are there, but he needs more consistency. In round 3, the Saints added some intriguing pieces to their 30th ranked defense in Vernon Broughton and Jonas Sanker. Getting Danny Stutzman, another defensive addition in round 4, was a solid value. Stutzman was the solid value. Unfortunately, the Saints did not do the best job of maximizing value early in the draft, and it's fair to wonder if taking Shough over quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders and Jalen Milroe was a massive mistake. New Orleans may need to prove a lot of people wrong for its draft to be considered a big win. And I'm going to be honest with all of you. It hurts me to do this, but based on the grades that I have for all these other teams, I'm going to be honest with you folks. The biggest loser of this NFL draft was the New Orleans Saints. And they are going to receive my worst grade of this draft. I thought they had the worst draft of all these teams. So, now it's not F bad. No, it's not that bad. However, I am gonna drop the hammer on them big time. D+ is my grade. But the good thing is, this is the only team that out of all the teams here, everybody gets a passing grade, but this team is the only one that gets a failing grade. D+ for the New Orleans Saints. I'm sorry, New Orleans. I have all the respect in the world for you guys. Who dat nation? I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. Got to be the man who tells it like it is. D+, the biggest loser of this draft. How do you follow that, MF?
By saying that you're out of your freaking mind, I totally disagree with your decision. And by saying that they got a B- for me. I totally disagree with everything that you just said. I think they got in day 1, I gave them a level of a B. In day 2, I gave them a C+. In day 3, I gave them a B+. So no, look, at the end of the day, yeah, were the picks perfect? No. Were they better than others? No. But the thing is, I feel like as far as a whole, I think you're out of your mind. I think they did far better than you're giving them, far better than they're getting respected on. I kind of feel like that decision was a little bit asinine, Anthony, and I'm calling you out on it. So B- for the New Orleans Saints. So next team.
All right. So I believe we're on our New York teams now. So,
yes, we are.
Yep, and we started off with the New York Giants, and here's who they selected. Abdul Carter, edge from Penn State. Jackson Dart, quarterback, Ole Miss. Darius Alexander, defensive lineman, Toledo. Cam Skattebo, running back, Arizona State. Marcus Mbo, offensive tackle for Purdue. Thomas Fidone II, tight end from Nebraska. And Corey Black, cornerback, Oklahoma State. And before I give it to you, MF, I'll tell you right now, all the remaining draft grades will be more positive than that last one. I'll tell you that right now. So, New York Giants, Big Blue, big draft. What says you?
They did good. One of the winners. I thought they did a really good job. I thought they really kind of developed their needs and everything else. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, they need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. They need a quarterback." You got Jackson Dart.
Yeah,
I know. A lot of people's like, "Oh, but he's no Shedeur Sanders." Yeah, well, sure. Well, in the eyes of Brian Daboll, at least he didn't fail on his interview, like Shedeur did. So, or he didn't junk the bed as in his interview, like Shedeur did. So, at the end of the day, they did a really good job. A's across the board on all 3 days. A overall. Nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
Was that a solid A, MF?
It was a solid A, yes.
Guess what? We agree. It's a solid A for me, too. It's hard not to love what the Giants accomplished on opening night. General manager Joe Schoen did not panic in his search for a quarterback of the future, but landed him anyway by staying patient. At the top of round one, the Giants simply, hold on one second here. The Giants simply let the draft's best pure defender fall to them at number 3. Penn State pass rusher Abdul Carter should be an immediate difference maker. There should now be some questions, however, about what the future holds for Kayvon Thibodeau in New York. Schoen then traded back into round 1 to snag Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart. While Dart was ranked below Colorado Shedeur Sanders, seeing Dart become the second signal caller off the board was not surprising. His big arm, athleticism, and scrambling ability always made him a sensible fit for Coach Brian Daboll's offense. Trading back into round 1 without surrendering a future first-round pick, the move cost Schoen the 34th and 99th picks, along with a 2026 third-rounder, should be seen as a big win. Darius Alexander should add valuable depth to New York's defensive front, while Cam Skattebo could help reshape the team's offensive identity. Be prepared for Skattebo to make regular appearances on angry runs. The first-team All-American plays with a level of power and passion that can't be denied. The Giants did a great job of finding players who can contribute early while adding a quarterback of the future. Of course, it remains to be seen whether that will be enough to save the jobs of Schoen and Daboll beyond this season. This is one of my winners. Solid A. Agree. 100% agree with you, good old MF Michael Fletcher. Solid A for the Giants. The other New York team, the New York Jets. And with their selections, they selected Armand Membou, offensive tackle, Missouri. Mason Tyler, tight end, LSU. Azariah Thomas, cornerback, Florida State. Arian Smith, wide receiver, Georgia. Malachi Moore, safety from Alabama. And a pair of Miami Hurricanes, Francisco Muagoa, linebacker, and Tyler Barron, an edge, both of them from the U. A year after taking Olu Fashanu in round 1, the New York Jets kicked off their draft with another offensive tackle. Fashanu should enter 2025 as the team's starting left tackle, leaving the right side open for Missouri's Armand Membou. Right tackle is Membou's natural position, so fans should see the rookie start early in the season. While New York could have considered other prospects at number 7, including tight end Colston Loveland and linebacker Jalen Walker, Membou was a very sensible selection. Perhaps the cleanest line prospect in the 2025 class. With Membou in the fold, the Jets should be able to get an accurate look at what they have in free agent quarterback Justin Fields. And while the Jets passed on an offensive skill player in round 1, they got one near the top of round 2. LSU tight end Mason Taylor should give New York the dynamic pass-catching tight end it has not had in recent years. Cornerback Azariah Thomas has the potential to be a quality starter early in his career. Taking Arian Smith represented a solid gamble on explosive traits, though the Georgia product is a boom or bust prospect. It was a surprise to see the Jets ignore quarterbacks who could be developed behind Fields or eventually push him for the QB1 role. Darren Mugi could have done much worse in his first draft as New York's general manager, but it's a solid draft for them. Solid B. Solid B is my grade for the New York Jets. MF, what says you?
Well, okay. I will say this. I thought they did all right. I give this a B minus though. I thought they did a fine job. I think they basically filled the need that they wanted, and they did very well with it. So nothing more to say, Anthony. It's yours.
All right, here we go. Your reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. With their selections, they selected Jahad Campbell, linebacker, Alabama. Andrew Makuba, safety, Texas. Ty Robinson, defensive lineman, Nebraska. Mac McWilliams, cornerback, UCF. Smail Mondin Jr., linebacker, Georgia. Drew Kendall, inside-outside linebacker, Boston College. Kyle McCord, quarterbacks from Syracuse. Miles Hinton, offensive tackle from Michigan. Cameron Williams, offensive tackle from Texas. And Antoine Powell Ryland, an edge from Virginia Tech. MF, the Super Bowl champs. Fly, Eagles, fly, or what?
Fly, Eagles, fly. Winners of the draft.
Whoa.
They did it. No, this team is the real deal. Howie Roseman knows how to play the draft. He knows how to manipulate the draft. Just like Kansas City, just like how the New England Patriots did it years ago, just like how the Baltimore Ravens does it. Whenever a team comes in and they look for the need, the want, the whole 9 yards, they go out and they do it. They manipulate the draft. This is why the Eagles is where they are right now. This is why the Eagles are the Super Bowl champions right now. This is why they could be the next dynasty in the NFL right now. This is an A. A freaking A for the world champion Eagles. And this is going to become, and if they continue on the path that they're going to become the new team we're going to hate in a few years. Everybody gets nauseating and tired and sick. And, well, guess what? You got to stop them, NFC. You got to do something to stop the Eagles because right now, they are on a mission to be the next great team. A, Florio, go.
Once again, we agree. It's also a solid day for me as well. You said it, MF. Eagles general manager Howie Roseman may not always land the best players in the draft, but it sure seems like he consistently finds the perfect prospects for his franchise. Alabama's Jahad Campbell is a wonderful combination of edge rusher and off-ball linebacker who should give defensive coordinator Vic Fangio fresh options. He and 2024 All-Pro Zach Bond will be a nightmare for opposing offenses sooner than later. And while Philly did surrender the 164th pick to move up only one spot for Campbell, Roseman was not about to risk another team trading up to get him. Roseman simply said this was a top 10 player on our board. Campbell was well worth moving up to secure. At the end of the second round, the Eagles grabbed some secondary help in the former Texas defensive back Andrew Makuba. He should contribute early as a versatile rotational player who can help Philly replace trade departure C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Roseman primarily focused on depth and on defense and along the defensive line on day 3. Offensive tackle Cameron Williams was a particularly good value in the 6th round. The Eagles also got a developmental quarterback in Kyle McCord. Roseman and the Eagles tend to shine on draft weekend, and it would seem that they've done it again in 2025. Solid AMF? You're damn right it's a solid A. I 100% agree with everything you just said. Solid A for me as well. Another one of my winners of this draft for sure. The other Pennsylvania team is next, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they selected Derek Harmon, defensive lineman, Oregon. Caleb Johnson, running back, Iowa. Jack Sawyer, an edge from the champions, Ohio State. Yahya Black, defensive lineman, Iowa. Another member of the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, they selected Will Howard, the quarterback. Carson Bruner, linebacker, Washington. And Dante Kent, a cornerback from Central Michigan. The Pittsburgh Steelers had their chance to select a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart with the 21st pick. Despite not having a long-term answer at the position, Pittsburgh may eventually reach an agreement with a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers for the 2025 season. Instead, the Steelers opted for Oregon defensive lineman Derek Harmon. Harmon does make sense for the Steelers. He's a big 6'5", 313-pound disruptive interior defender. And 35-year-old Cameron Hayward can't man the middle forever. And Mike Tomlin simply said we were on the clock and we got the player that we wanted. Pittsburgh filled another need on day 3, grabbing Iowa running back Caleb Johnson in the 3rd round. Steelers sent their 2nd-round pick to Seattle for wide receiver DK Metcalf. Steelers needed a physical running back to pair with the shifty Jaylen Warren. They got exactly that in Johnson. Edge rusher Jack Sawyer also fills Pittsburgh's need for a situational edge rusher, and he provided good value in the 4th round. This was a very Steelers-like draft, and most of their picks should mesh with Pittsburgh's locker room culture. The biggest issue, however, is that the team desperately needed a long-term quarterback plan, but did not draft a signal caller before taking a 6th-round flyer on Will Howard. Including Metcalf as part of the draft haul keeps the Steelers from getting a more disappointing grade. This is one of my disappointments of the draft. I said New Orleans was the biggest one, but Pittsburgh was another one of my disappointments. Solid C is my grade for the Pittsburgh Steelers. MF, what says you?
Disagreement. A. Disagreement. A for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But look, Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, but they got guys. They got Will Howard from the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. I think they're going to be just fine where they got and who they got. A lot of the thing is they needed online help. They needed a running back. So they addressed that right out of the gate. And plus, you know, plus they need help on defense, and they got that as well. There was more pressing needs than getting a quarterback in round one. And I think a lot of people's like, oh, Shador would be perfect. Shador would be perfect. No, he's not. Not for Mike Tomlin. Not for that Steel City. Are you kidding me? They would have eaten him up and chewed him out and spit him out like everybody else. So no, I'm not buying Shador to Pittsburgh. I'm not. So I think they got the better quarterback in a better position under that situation. A for me. Florio, go.
All right, MF. Next team is the San Francisco 49ers, and here's who they selected. Mykel Williams, an edge from Georgia. Alfred Collins, defensive lineman, Texas. Nick Martin, linebacker, Oklahoma State. Upton Stout, cornerback, Western Kentucky. CJ West, defensive lineman, Indiana. Jordan Watkins, wide receiver, Ole Miss. Jordan James, running back, Oregon. Marquise Sigley, safety, Kansas State. Curtis Rourke, quarterback from Indiana. Connor Colby, inside-outside linebacker from Iowa. And Junior Bergen, wide receiver from Montana. MF, San Francisco, how'd they do?
Does not do anything for me. B minus. I'm sorry. I didn't like this draft. I thought it was solid. I think it was all right. But there's nobody of relevance or nobody on this class, on this team that really screams wow. I mean, yeah, they get an edge at the very beginning, which was a solid pick. You know, you get Alfred Collins, who's a solid pick. But again, there's not one player that I see on this squad that's going to make me say that this team is going to be better than any other team in the NFC West. So for me, it's only a B minus. I think they're fine, but nothing blows me away. Florio, it's yours.
In a vacuum, the San Francisco 49ers selection of pass rusher Mykel Williams made sense. San Francisco is experiencing a bit of a roster overhaul this offseason, not a full-on rebuild. But key players like Dre Greenlaw and Charvarius Ward did depart, and it has long needed a high-end edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa. Williams may eventually be that top-tier complement. However, the Georgia product is on the raw side. The Bulldogs' traits are worth betting on for a team that uses a lot of even fronts and is looking for a hand-in-the-ground defensive end. But he'll likely take a year or two to flesh out his game and become an impact every-down player. Teams typically prefer cleaner prospects in the top half of round one. San Francisco continued reloading its defensive front in round two, taking Texas defensive tackle Alfred Collins with the 43rd pick. A massive 6'6", 332-pound interior defender, Collins should help fill the void created when the 49ers released Javon Hargrave early in the offseason. The run on defenders continued in the middle rounds, and prospects like Upton Stout, Nick Martin, and CJ West should have opportunities to compete for early playing time. It was an unsurprising approach for a team that ranked 29th in points allowed last season and is looking to revitalize the defense under former/new coordinator Robert Saleh. At the end of round 4, the 49ers took a flyer on speedy 4.37 second 40-yard dash receiver Jordan Watkins. In the latter rounds, John Lynch largely targeted depth, though Jordan James may find a backfield role after Jordan Mason was traded to Minnesota earlier in the offseason. San Francisco also took a flyer on Indiana quarterback Curtis Rourke, who may have backup value behind Brock Purdy. Overall, this draft was about replacing departed players and turning over a roster that could not stay healthy in 2024. Slight disagreement, MF. I actually have it a little bit worse than you do. You gave him a B minus. For me, C plus is my grade for San Francisco. Next up, it is the Seattle Seahawks, and they selected Gray Zabel, inside-outside linebacker, North Dakota State. Nick Emenwari, safety, South Carolina. Elijah Arroyo, tight end, Miami. Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Alabama. Riley Mills, Defensive lineman, Notre Dame. Torrey Horton, wide receiver, Colorado State. Robbie Austis, tight end, Alabama. Bryce Cabledew, offensive tackle, Kansas. Damian Martinez, running back, Miami. Mason Richmond, offensive tackle, Iowa. And Ricky White III, wide receiver from UNLV. The Seattle Seahawks had a solid tackle tandem in Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas, but their interior line was a significant liability in 2024. Unsurprisingly, Seattle addressed that need with its first opportunity. The Seahawks settled on North Dakota State interior lineman Gray Zabel, a smaller school prospect with big-time physical tools. Zabel shows starter-level physical tools with refined run-blocking skills and understanding of leverage that signal he can become an immediate role player and potential starter with to have Zabel on the roster. The Seahawks got terrific value early on day 2, training up to number 35 and snagging safety Nick Emenwari. Seattle also grabbed Miami tight end Elijah Arroyo in the second round. He's a talented deep threat at tight end who should complement Noah Fant or potentially replace him if the Seahawks plan to move on from Fant. Arroyo and fifth-round receiver Torrey Horton should have chances to improve the passing attack as rookies. The Seahawks grabbed an intriguing developmental quarterback in Jalen Milroe, who could threaten Darnold's long-term future in Seattle. Getting Milroe in round 3 was great value. After adding Milroe, the Seahawks dealt Sam Howell as part of a move-up to grab Riley Mills in the 5th round. It was a bit surprising that Seattle did not invest even more into its offensive interior, but it was a sensible draft otherwise. Seahawks added a few early contributors, got something in return for a quarterback they no longer wanted, and added a signal caller with perhaps the highest upside in the class. Solid B. Solid B is my grade for the Seattle Seahawks. MF, your grade.
For Seattle, my grade is, I'll give it a B. It's a solid B as well. I think they did a fine job. I don't think it was anything too amazing, but, at the end of the day, they did fine. So B for me. Anthony, next team.
We're almost there, guys. We got 3 more to go. Next up, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And here's who they selected with their picks. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. Benjamin Morrison, cornerback, Notre Dame. Jacob Parrish, cornerback, Kansas State. David Walker, edge, Central Arkansas. Elijah Roberts, defensive lineman, SMU. Tez Johnson, wide receiver, Oregon. MF, Tampa Bay, how'd they do?
B+. Solid B+. I think they did a really good job. I really liked their draft. I liked how they played out. Really not much more to say there. I thought they filled the needs that they needed to fill, and yeah, B+. So Florio, it's yours.
Buccaneers were widely expected to address their 18th ranked defense in the first round, though head coach Todd Bowles made it clear that he didn't want to target needs alone. He said, I would like to have some defensive players if that presented itself, but by no means will I bypass a very good offensive player just to satisfy my needs on defense. Wide receiver Emeka Egbuka will not help improve Tampa's defense. He will, however, help ensure that Baker Mayfield and the Bucs offense continue to hum in 2025. The Buccaneers re-signed wideout Chris Godwin in free agency, but as he continues to recover from a dislocated ankle that required surgery, Egbuka provides insurance. He'll add a whole new dimension to Tampa's offense when he, Godwin, and Mike Evans, can all take the field together. And Egbuka's blocking ability makes him a perfect fit for the team's identity. In round 2, the Bucs addressed a more immediate need by scooping up Notre Dame cornerback Benjamin Morrison. Morrison probably would have gone in round 1 if not for the hip injury that impacted him during the 2024 season. He has the potential to be a dependable starter within his first couple of seasons. General manager Jason Leach continued targeting the defense in the middle rounds, adding promising prospects like Jacob Parrish, David Walker, and Elijah Roberts. The strategy of adding an immediate contributor at receiver and then throwing multiple darts at the defense was logical. Whether that plan will allow the Buccaneers to repeat as NFC South Division champs again remains to be seen. However, I thought it was another solid draft outing by a front office that has gotten good at identifying and adding young talent. MF, this was another one of my winners. Solid A for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Very good draft. 2 teams left, and next up it's the Tennessee Titans. And they had the number 1 overall pick in this draft. And with that number 1 overall pick, they selected Cam Ward, the quarterback from the Miami Hurricanes. Other selections included Oluwafemi Oladejo, an edge from UCLA, Kevin Winston Jr., a safety from Penn State, Chimere Dike, wide receiver from Florida, Gunnar Helm, a tight end from Texas, Alik Aomanor, wide receiver from Stanford, Jackson Slater, inside-outside linebacker, Sacramento State, Marcus Harris, a cornerback from California, and Kalel Mullings, running back from Michigan. Yes, the Tennessee Titans passed on a potentially elite prospect like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter to take Miami quarterback Cam Ward number 1 overall. No, that doesn't mean that general manager Mike Borgonzi made a mistake. The Titans needed a true franchise quarterback. They got the best quarterback prospect in the draft. The combination of arm talent, mobility, athleticism, and accuracy is what the NFL is looking for in potential franchise quarterbacks. He has superstar potential if he can cut down on mistakes/risky decisions. Ward may not be a totally finished product. However, he's a terrific high upside project for head coach Brian Callahan, who landed the Tennessee job after working with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Tennessee then waited until the 52nd overall pick to make its second selection of the draft. After adding the 52nd and 82nd picks in a trade down with the Seattle Seahawks, with that selection, the Titans grabbed UCLA edge rusher Oluwafemi Oladejo. Oladejo should partner with free agent additions Draymond Jones and Cody Barton to help bolster Tennessee's pass rush. Safety Kevin Winston Jr. was a bargain in round 3. Incoming players Chimere Dike, Gunnar Helm, Alik Aomanor, and Kalel Mullings should help Cam Ward adjust to life in the NFL. The most important thing, though, is that Tennessee got its guy at quarterback. Another one of my winners, solid A for the Tennessee Titans. MF, what says you?
Yeah, I agree. Solid A. I thought they did a really good job. There's really nothing more to add, Anthony. So it is yours.
Final team. 1 to go. And it's the Washington Commanders. They selected Josh Conerly Jr., offensive tackle from Oregon, Trey Amos, cornerback, Ole Miss, Jalen Lane, wide receiver, Virginia Tech, Kane Madrano, linebacker, UCLA, and Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, running back, Arizona. MF, our final team, the Washington Commanders. Your final grade for the night.
For the first time tonight, Anthony, I'm going your route. I got to slam Washington. That was not a good draft for me. And you can probably say this is my harshest grade of the night for me. C- for the Washington Commanders. I didn't really see anything of value. I didn't really see anything that would make me want to say that this team is going to do better. I think at the end of the day, it just didn't do anything for me. C-. Anthony, it's yours.
Well, you remember earlier when you slammed me for New Orleans? Well, you played the devil's advocate on my grade. Well, I'm going to do it on yours. The Washington Commanders found their franchise quarterback when they took Jaden Daniels, 2nd overall in last year's draft. A year later, thanks in no small part to Daniels' rookie success, Washington selected near the bottom of the draft order. Daniels is the key to the Commanders' future. So protecting Daniels should be a top offseason priority. After trading for left tackle Laramie Tunsil, Washington used its first-round pick on Oregon's Josh Conerly Jr. Conerly should have a chance to compete at right tackle as a rookie, though his collegiate experience came on the right side. He may also be viewed as an heir to Tunsil at left tackle, as Tunsil is only under contract through 2026. There's nothing wrong with investing in the trenches, though Washington may have reached a bit for Conerly. Late in the second round, the Commanders added to an already respectable secondary. Washington ranked 10th in net yards allowed per pass attempt last season by taking Ole Miss cornerback Trey Amos. 2024 trade acquisition Marshawn Lattimore, and 2024 second-round pick Mike Sanders could give the Commanders a championship-caliber cornerback trio. It was largely depth after those two, though Virginia Tech receiver Jalen Lane could see some early playing time as a rotational slot receiver. Of course, Washington didn't have a ton of draft capital with which to work. Getting two likely starters in Carnley and Amos should be viewed as a win. Big time disagreement here. You gave it a C-, solid B for me for the Washington Commanders. And with that, we put the bow on our 2025 NFL Draft Recap Special. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in and hanging out with us here tonight. We'll be back with you again tomorrow night, 11 p.m. over on MF's channel, Braves Fan 95, immediately following SmackDown. We got the Cerebral Smack Talk, TNA Impact live show, which wrapped up a little while ago. It had a special start time of 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll address that. Some interesting things went down on that show tonight. And then we'll also address, of course, Friday Night SmackDown as well. And then Tuesday, we do it all over again, Ridiculously Raw. Monday Night Raw, go-home show for Backlash, and then NXT. And then next week, next Thursday night here on TXN Sports World, we will preview the I believe we should be in position to preview both the second round of the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm thinking the second round matchup should be ready by then. We'll see. And if that's the case, we'll address that. And we'll throw in some UFL stuff as well. So that'll be next Thursday night. So that's it. So until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on the MEPS channel, Braves Fan 95, this is Anthony Florio here.
Florio.
Yo.
That's not going to happen.
What's not going to happen?
Oh, actually, no, you're right. You're right. I stand corrected. Because the week after is the draft, is the schedule release. So no, I stand corrected. No, you're right. You're right. Don't forget what I said. Forget my interruption. I apologize.
No, that's all right. That's all right. You no worries at all. So and by the way, MF was mentioning the NFL schedule release. The schedule release special will take place on Wednesday night, May 14th. MF and I will put our heads together and we will let you know.
We'll be on the air the next night on the 15th.
So that'll be in 2 weeks. So mark your calendars, friends. Thursday night, May 15th. It'll be our 2025 NFL schedule release special, where we will go down. We'll preview. We'll let you know what our notable standout games for all 18 weeks of this upcoming 2025 season. This is MF's favorite football show of the football off season. He loves the NFL Draft Recap. Well, the schedule release, it's my turn. That's my favorite. Always look forward to that, very much so every year. So that's in 2 weeks. So until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on the MEPS channel, Braves Fan 95, this is Anthony Florio here. For the birthday boy, good old MF, Michael Fletcher. And of course, in spirit, Michael Bullock. And always in forever, our First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching this very special edition of TXN Sports World, our 2025 NFL Draft Recap right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and Streamy.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.